There, doing everybody. It's KB5 MIQ Big Boy. Normally I don't do but maybe one video a week. This is going to cover a twofold thing. There's a lot of upcoming ham fest that I've got slides on here. Um, Emory's coming up in April. Uh, our club, 4 States Amateur Radio Club's got a tailgate sale. It's going to be in New Boston, Texas on I think May the 11th. The slides on here. That's going to be a real good location. I hope this one comes off good for us because they're doing it at a kind of a flea market trailhead setup area. It's got a big covered area and lots of enough room for lots of tailgates. So y'all remember that. DFW Ham Expo's coming up in June, Shreveport in August. I ain't got a slide for Mena yet in Huntsville, but those are coming up late August, September. So all those slides are going to be on at the end of this. But the subject of today's video, and this is subject I got to think about cooking breakfast this morning. Why ham radio? I'm seeing all kinds of social media stuff right now. Of course, with this dang eclipse coming up, where everybody's worried to death about it and all of that, and seeing some stuff come up on some Facebook ham radio beginner pages and stuff like that. Why ham radio? Well, I don't know if I can sum this up where everybody can understand it exactly the way I do, but I'm going to try to. Why ham radio? Because it works. It's pure and simple. Now let me try to explain that. I've been involved with radios basically all my life. CB radio in the 70s. Joined the military in 1980. I spent 12 years in an Army Guard unit, and the majority of that was in a mechanized infantry unit. Then I spent 11 years in U.S. Air Force Reserve in a Red Horse construction squadron, civil engineering squadron, and was involved with heavily involved with their communications in that squadron over the time. And my experience in radio has covered CB, ground, FM, tactical, military communications in the Army, ground, FM, tactical in the Air Force, plus HF in the Air Force, and plus ham radio. All right. Now, what I'm getting at is we've seen a big shift as technology improves, and I know people's going to go with the technology as it gets out there. And I'm not knocking that. But I've found out talking to some people here lately about this eclipse that, like public service, for instance, and I'm going to get back to the military in just a second. Public service, for instance, is heavily relying on internet cell tower communication, I believe, so they got their access to their computers in their cars where they can look stuff up and things like that. And I'm not sure if a lot of their radio, some of their voice communications ain't going that route. Pure radio backup seems to be going by the wayside, and that is a mistake. That is a mistake, and I'm afraid if this eclipse pulls off the way everybody's saying it's going to come off, they're going to find out how big a mistake it was when they overload these cell towers and their signals are not going to be able to get out. Now, a lot of people think, well, they probably got their own encrypted signals and stuff like that. They may have. I don't really know how it works, but if it's going through the same cell towers that cellular telephone goes through, I'm going to say it's going to be overloaded. I've seen the public service, especially in our county, volunteer firemen up until, I'm going to say, the late 80s. We didn't have radios in our trucks. They finally pooled money and got money together and got their own fire channel frequency which was a simple VHF repeater, which worked good. I don't know what they're using now. I hadn't been a fireman in over 20 years. But talked to one of the firemen the other day about, she was asking me about communications and what I could help them with in case they needed my help during the eclipse. And she told me that the county's heavily relying on that internet style communicating to their patrol cars, and that they haven't maintained their backup radio, simple radio repeater like they should. Now, that's a mistake. That's a mistake. Radio, if you have the ability to tune a radio will work. These cell towers are dependent upon their computers, whatever magic the cell tower runs on, to make them work. If they go down, a cell phone in your hand is just a good paperweight. Seriously, that's all it's good for. Now let's go back and talk about the military a little bit. When I got in the military, we were still using old Vietnam era PRC 77 backpack radios, or what we refer to as a Prick 77 backpack radio. If you was a radio operator, you had to have some training to operate that radio, because you had different styles of antennas you could hook up with it. You had the ability to vehicular mount it for power, and you had to know how to change the frequencies and set the radio up. And you had some preset frequencies you could adjust, where you could do it in the dark, just switch your knobs around to presets. But you had the ability to use the radio and change the frequencies. And you were also taught how to make field expedient antennas out of common wire. You were taught multiple ways to make that radio work under any conditions, and in most cases you could make it work. Now, after I retired in 03, they was already trying to go SATCOM phones then, because I had to go to a conference. My last conference as a master sergeant, I represented Reserve Command setting communications equipment for upcoming years for civil engineering. And they was all wanting to go cell phone and satellite phone, and I argued against it. And I was the only one arguing against it, so you can imagine I looked like the guy who just pooted at the church social, arguing against that technology. And I wasn't really arguing against the technology, I was just arguing, don't give up your existing technology. Don't give up your ability to change your own frequency in a radio. Air Force had pretty much already was doing that route. Now I think they have to go have somebody come and program their radios. That's not going to be good if something happens. What I'm saying about amateur radio teaches you how to set up and use your own radio. It teaches you how to set up, use your own antenna systems, how to make antennas, and how to learn the propagation to where you can get a signal through. Common misconception with ham radio, I had this asked to me, "Oh, can I call my aunt that lives in Dallas on ham radio?" No, you can't. Unless, I ain't going to say you can't, but it's not very practical nowadays, because you had to have a phone patch on both ends, at the end in Dallas and all this stuff. But amateur radio will allow you to get a message through for an emergency. Or if a satellite goes down, cell tower goes down, none of that crap works. A SATCOM phone without a satellite is useless. It's just a high grade paperweight. That's why ham radio works. Now, all you guys, I'm a prepper. I've just bought 10 UV5Rs and I've put them in a Faraday bag. Okay, that's great. Do you know how to use them? Do you know how to program them? Have you checked them to see if they even work? If that's what you think, you want to get a ham radio license, or you can buy an HF rig or a bunch of handhelds, shove them in a Faraday bag and put them back in case hard time happens. Don't waste your money or your time. If you're going to be a prepper and that's what you think you need to do for a radio, just get you a shortwave receiver. Something all you got to do is turn on and turn the dial knob on. Okay? You've got amateur radio is a really interesting service/hobby. It never was set up for just a bunch of old guys to badmouth new hams sitting in their basement on the airwaves. It was set up to have a trained pool of operators to assist in emergency that knew how to operate the radio, knew emergency procedures, and were available to assist. That's what it was set up to be all about. So, if you're interested in ham radio, by all means pursue it. But pursue it from the looking at it like I'm doing this to learn something, where I can maybe help with some other people if something goes on. Hey, there's Ham Radio Cat. She just now got in here. Hey, there's old Wendy. Do it from that aspect where you can be assistance if you're asked to help in an emergency. I personally have done that, and it's a good feeling to be able to know that you had the knowledge, the skills, and the equipment ready to help in an emergency. But you've got to get in this hobby to learn from it. It's not an instant group of knowledge that once you pass a test, you know everything. Any ham radio I've told you they know anything, that's the one you don't want to listen to. That's why I try to preach this with this channel. I try to give y'all some guidance and suggestions and avenues where you can get your own information and make your own decisions. But look at ham radio. Enjoy it. You got to overlook some of the bad parts about it, which is going to be some of the people and some of the ways they talk to you on the radio. You just turn a knob and get away from it. But try to learn the hobby and understand what it's about and ask questions. But the main thing is once you get a ticket, your ham ticket, keep it. You've done a lot of work to get the ticket. You've done a lot of studying to get it. Don't get in it, get aggravated, get frustrated, and say, heck, I'm through with it. Take your time, take small steps, and learn it as you go. All right? That's the main thing in ham radio. Ham radio works. It's always worked, and it will continue to work. There's nothing wrong with new technology. Nothing wrong. I'm not running cell phones down. I'm not running SATCOM phones down. All I'm saying is if they fail, there's no workaround. With ham radio, you can figure a workaround. Hope that makes sense. Guys, remember Main Trading Company, Paris, Texas. Don't know what's going on there with the big move, but we'll know soon enough. Got some more MFJ review videos coming up. Got a slide on for MRG Labs over in Farmersville if you need any radio repairs. And check the slides out coming up for the upcoming Ham Fest. We're at 1,472 subscribers. We're going to do a 1,500 sub giveaway here pretty quick. This is KB5 MIQ Big Boy 73.